Okay, I want you to just take a second and really focus on this solitary number, 0. Seriously, just think about its true weight for a moment. Usually when we bump into a 0, we kind of just rush right past it, right? Or, even better, we try to slap as many digits in front of it as humanly possible. We treat it like a void, a big, fat nothing. But in this explainer, we're going to completely dismantle that assumption.
So, when you look at that 0, what's your gut instinct? Do you see failure? Emptiness? Just a total lack of value? I mean, in math, sure, it literally represents nothingness. And in society, starting at 0 often feels like you're already miles behind in a race you didn't even know you were running. But I really want to challenge that instinct today. What if 0 isn't a deficit at all? What if it's actually, literally, the absolute most powerful place a person can possibly be? Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today we're tracing a really profound narrative based on a journey from 0 to 0 to uncover the true meaning of 0. We're going to completely redefine what it means to have absolutely nothing, gain everything, and then, well, you'll see.
The starting line. Every great story has to start somewhere, right? And our protagonist begins in a place a lot of us know all too well. Absolute scratch, the ultimate blank slate.
Now, notice the specific nature of his nothing. The text lays it out super clearly. No money, no connections, no direction. I mean, think about what that actually feels like. It's one thing to be broke, right? It's another to not know a single person who can help. But to have absolutely no direction on top of all that, man, that is a profound state of emptiness. I want you to think back to your own life for a quick second. Try to recall a time when you found yourself standing at a starting line just like this one, completely empty-handed, looking out at a world that seemed to hold literally all the cards while you held 0. But here's the thing. He wasn't entirely empty, was he? And this is where we see the turning point of the human spirit. The text notes that despite lacking every conceivable external resource, he had two incredibly powerful internal drivers, a restless mind and a quiet belief that life just had to be more. So the external 0 was offset by this internal spark. And that quiet belief, it isn't loud, flashy arrogance. It's this deep, resilient anchor. It's that quiet whisper in the dark that simply says, just keep going. So he began. And the text describes this meticulous, grueling progression. 1. Slow steps. 2. Late nights. 3. Small wins that absolutely no one noticed. 4. Failure by failure. This wasn't some overnight success story. He built something from scratch, piece by agonizing piece. And notice how the source frames failure here, not as a dead end, but as a stepping stone. Failure by failure. It's this rhythmic, almost brutal climb out of the 0. We're talking about those late nights where the exhaustion really sets in, and those tiny microscopic wins that nobody else is clapping for, but they're just enough to keep you going for one more day.
Well, years passed, all that grinding, all those late nights and quiet failures, they finally compounded. But as this 0 turned into something tangible, we enter some pretty dangerous territory, the illusion of success. Consider the metrics of this newly acquired status. When that 0 transforms into what the world calls everything, the whole measuring stick shifts. First, success. Then, money. Finally, recognition. People actually saw him. The invisible guy at the starting line was suddenly standing right in the spotlight. He'd achieved exactly what society tells us we should sacrifice our late nights and our restless minds for. The bars on the graph were just going up and up.
But something felt off. I just want to pause right here for a second and let that sentence hang in the air. Something felt off. You know that feeling? It's that creeping, unsettling whisper in the back of your mind when you finally reach the summit of the mountain, you're holding the shiny trophy, and you suddenly realize the view isn't at all what you thought it would be.
And this brings us to one of the absolutely vital insights from the source material. The text explicitly states, the more he gained, the more he lost. Think about this stark contrast. On one hand, you have the visible external gains, success, money, recognition. But on the other, the invisible profound losses, peace, time, and tragically, himself. I really have to ask you, have you ever made this dangerous trade? Have you ever traded your peace for a paycheck or your time for a title? He realized that the person who successfully clawed his way out of the 0 was no longer someone he even recognized. So one day, he just stopped. And the text makes a really critical distinction here that we absolutely need to highlight. He didn't stop because he failed. The money was still there, the recognition was still there. No, he stopped because of a sudden, completely shattering realization.
He saw a trap that, honestly, most people stay stuck in for their entire lives.
The source text diagnoses this condition so perfectly. He was chasing numbers, not meaning. Just feel the weight of that for a second. It brilliantly captures this modern epidemic we're all facing. We constantly optimize our lives for metrics, right? We want more money in the bank, more followers on our feeds, more fancy titles on our resumes. We chase numbers simply because numbers are easy to measure. But meaning? Meaning is invisible. You can't just slap meaning onto a bar chart. He realized he'd spent years running away from zero, only to arrive at a destination that was mathematically huge but spiritually bankrupt.
Once you realize you're running the wrong race, well, the only logical step is to stop running. So the text tells us he let go. And this wasn't some passive loss. This was a highly active, deliberate shedding of weight. Letting go of the titles, letting go of the noise, letting go of the pressure. He took all of those things society told him were so incredibly valuable, and he just dropped them. He sent the whole shebang right back to zero.
And so, we hit the final act, the return to zero. Now, on paper, this looks like a total regression. It looks like he just lost the game. But stepping into this state for the second time, and doing it by choice, felt completely different than it did back at the starting line.
The contrast here is just beautiful. Think about the old zero versus the new zero. When he first started, having nothing felt empty and scary. It was this place of severe lack, driven by that restless mind we talked about. But now, the new zero is entirely free. That gnawing anxiety of having nothing was replaced by the ultimate liberation of needing nothing. The noise was finally gone. That heavy pressure of maintaining the illusion of success completely vanished.
And that brings us to the absolute core of this explainer. Zero isn't the end. It's where you meet yourself without distractions. When you finally strip away the titles, the money, the recognition, the late nights, the constant stress, what's actually left? You, just you. Zero is no longer this mathematical lack. It transforms into a sanctuary. It's quite literally the only place quiet enough for you to actually hear your own thoughts and rediscover who you are beneath all that armor you built just to survive the climb.
Which brings us to the final, incredibly powerful line of our source text. He didn't lose everything. He returned to what mattered. I love this because it brilliantly flips the entire narrative of success and failure right on its head. Letting go of the illusion wasn't a loss at all. Actually, scratch that, it was a recovery mission. By actively choosing zero, he finally reclaimed the peace, the time, and the self that he had traded away all those years ago.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought to carry with you today. If you went back to zero today, completely stripped of the titles, the noise, the pressure, what is the very first thing you would find? Thank you so much for joining me in uncovering the true meaning of zero.